The holographic display flickered with images of burning colonies. Ambassador Trell watched 17 worlds die in silence. His blue skin had lost its usual glow. The Galactic Council chamber held representatives from 40 species, but nobody spoke. They just stared at the evidence of genocide. The Krothak Empire had broken every treaty. 3 weeks ago, they promised peace. Now millions were dead. Trell's people, the Axians, were next on the list. His homeworld had 72 hours before the invasion fleets arrived. "We must negotiate," Council Speaker Myrn said. Her voice trembled despite her attempt at authority. "Perhaps another diplomatic mission." Trell slammed his fist on the table. The gesture shocked everyone. Axians never showed violence. "This is the 5th mission. While we talk, my people burn." The chamber erupted in uncomfortable murmurs. Several ambassadors looked away. They all knew the truth. The Krothak were too strong. The Council maintained peace for 800 years through words, not weapons. Nobody remembered how to fight real wars anymore. Except one species, the humans. Earth had applied for Council membership twice. Both times they were rejected. Too aggressive, the Council said, too militaristic, too unpredictable. The humans withdrew politely and disappeared from galactic politics. That was 30 years ago. Trell made a decision that would change everything. Late that night, he sent an unauthorized transmission to Earth. He expected nothing. Humans probably forgot about the galaxy that rejected them. Admiral Rebecca Stone received the message at Terran Fleet Command. She read it 3 times, then forwarded it to her superiors. Within hours, Earth's government made their choice. The USS Blackstar would deploy. Captain David Wright stood in the launch bay, watching technicians complete final checks. The Blackstar was humanity's answer to a hostile universe. For 3 decades, humans studied every battle, every weapon, every tactical mistake made across the galaxy. They built something unprecedented. "All systems green," Dr. Neil Foster reported from the engineering deck. "Shield generators at full capacity, weapons primed, jump drive ready." Lieutenant Amy Park checked her console at the weapons station. She grew up hearing stories about galactic peace. She joined the fleet believing humanity could be part of that peace. Now she would go to war to protect it. "Captain, we have clearance," the navigation officer said. Wright nodded. "Activate jump drive." The Blackstar disappeared from Earth orbit. Every sensor array in the galaxy detected the massive energy signature. It was designed that way. Humanity wanted everyone to know they were coming. The ship emerged at the edge of Axian space. Trell nearly collapsed when he saw it. One vessel against the Krothak Armada. Either humans were incredibly brave or completely insane. Wright opened a channel to all frequencies. "This is the USS Blackstar of the Terran Fleet. The Krothak Empire has 24 hours to withdraw from Axian territory. This is your only warning." Aboard the Krothak dreadnought Crushing Fist, War Commander Vorn listened to the message. Then he laughed. His officers joined in. One ship threatening an empire, the arrogance was almost admirable. "They must not understand Krothak power," Vorn said. "Send 47 warships, destroy them quickly, make it a lesson for the galaxy." The Krothak fleet moved into position. Their ships were massive, bristling with weapons. They had conquered 12 species in the last century. Humans would be number 13. The Blackstar held its position. No evasive maneuvers, no fear, just waiting. "Captain, they're forming attack formation," Park reported. "All ships preparing to fire." Wright remained calm. "Shields to maximum, prepare point defense systems, remember your training." The Krothak fired first. 300 plasma torpedoes and energy beams crossed the distance in seconds. The display showed a wall of incoming destruction. Any normal ship would be vaporized. The Blackstar's shields absorbed everything. The ship didn't even shake. The energy that hit the shields simply dispersed into space. Krothak sensors couldn't believe the readings. Impossible. "Return fire," Wright ordered. "Surgical strikes, disable weapons and engines only, no unnecessary casualties." The Blackstar's weapon system was nothing like the Krothak expected. Instead of massive destructive blasts, focused particle beams struck with perfect precision, one beam per target. Each one removed weapon batteries or cut through engine housings. Clean, efficient, terrifying in its accuracy. 90 seconds, that's all it took. 12 Krothak warships floated dead in space, intact but powerless. Their crews were alive but helpless. Vorn stared at his tactical display in shock. Impossible, this is impossible. All ships full retreat, he finally ordered. Wright opened the channel again. You were warned, next time we aim for life support, 24 hours, withdraw or face the consequences. The Krothak fleet scattered. Vorn knew he would be executed for this failure, but he also knew he had to report the truth. Humanity possessed technology that made Krothak weapons look primitive. Across the galaxy, leaders watched the engagement. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Ambassador Trell wept with relief. His people had hoped for the first time in months. On Earth, Admiral Stone received Wright's report. Everything went according to plan. Now came the hard part. The Krothak Empire would not accept this humiliation. They would return with everything they had. Admiral Intelligence reports Krothak forces mobilizing, her aide said. 400 ships. They're bringing their entire military. Stone nodded. She expected this. Send the Raptor, Thunder, and Redemption to support the Blackstar. Captain Wright will need backup. Wright stood on the bridge looking at the stars. He knew more ships were coming. The Krothak Empire would bet everything on overwhelming force. They didn't understand yet. Humanity didn't come to conquer. They came to end a genocide, and they would not fail. War Marshal Dern reviewed the battle recordings for the 8th time. He refused to accept what his eyes showed him. One human ship had humiliated 47 Krothak warships. Vorn was already executed, his body dumped in space as an example. Dern would not make the same mistake. He assembled 400 ships, every available vessel in the Krothak fleet. This time, overwhelming numbers would crush the humans. No more warnings, no more mercy. The Armada entered Axian space like a metal storm. Sensors showed them immediately. 4 human ships waited. The Blackstar, Raptor, Thunder, and Redemption formed a defensive line. Behind them, Axian civilian transports evacuated the planet. They brought friends, Lieutenant Park said from her station. But 4 against 400, the math doesn't work. Captain Wright studied the tactical display. The Krothak think war is about numbers. They're about to learn it's about capability. Admiral Stone's voice came through from the Raptor. All ships, defensive formation Delta, synchronize shields. Let them make the first move. Dern addressed his fleet from the Eternal Dominion. Today we restore Krothak honor, destroy them all, fire everything. 400 ships fired as one. The visual display could not capture the true scale. Space itself seemed to burn. Plasma torpedoes, kinetic missiles, energy beams, and fusion warheads converged on the human position. Enough firepower to crack a planet. The 4 human ships activated their shields together. The barriers overlapped, creating a unified defensive wall. The Krothak barrage struck like an angry god. The shields glowed white-hot, pulsing with absorbed energy. But they held. Shield integrity at 87%, Dr. Foster reported from the Blackstar's engineering section. Energy absorption within parameters. Dern could not believe it. Again, all ships fire again. The second barrage was even heavier. Dern emptied half his ammunition reserves in those few minutes. The human shields flickered but never failed. Wright watched the Krothak formation closely. They're grouping tighter, coming in for close combat. That's what we need. Admiral, execute protocol hammer. The 4 human ships suddenly moved, not retreating, repositioning. They spread out in a pattern that made no tactical sense to Krothak commanders. Dern saw weakness and ordered his fleet to close distance. That was his mistake. At point-blank range, the human ships fired electromagnetic pulse weapons. The effect was instant. Shield generators across the Krothak fleet shut down, not destroyed, just disabled. Every ship became vulnerable. Then came the kinetic strikes. The human weapons were not designed to kill. They were designed to neutralize. Precise projectiles struck weapon batteries, destroying them without penetrating the hull. Engine compartments were targeted with surgical accuracy. The 4 human vessels moved through the Krothak formation like dancers. Every shot counted. Every target was calculated. In 20 minutes, 200 Krothak ships floated helpless. Their crews were alive, but their ships were dead. The remaining fleet panicked. Captains broke formation without orders. Some tried to flee. Others fired wildly, hitting their own ships as often as the enemy. "Cease fire," Wright ordered. "Let them run." Park looked at her captain in surprise. "Sir, we could finish them." "We're not here to commit genocide," Wright replied. "We're here to stop one. Let them go. They'll carry the message back." Dern watched his fleet disintegrate. The battle was lost. The Empire was humiliated. But Dern had one more card to play. If he could not win, he would ensure nobody could question Krothak resolve. "All ships, new target," he transmitted. "Fire on our disabled vessels. Kill everyone." His officers stared at him in shock. "Sir, those are our own ships, our own people. Better they die than let humans take them prisoner. Fire now, or I execute you myself." Across the fleet, loyal ships turned their weapons on disabled comrades. Escape pods that launched moments earlier were vaporized. Krothak killing Krothak. The galaxy watched in horror. Wright saw it happening and made an immediate decision. "All ships, intercept fire, protect those disabled vessels. That includes the Krothak ones." The human ships moved between Dern's loyalists and their targets. Point defense systems shot down incoming fire. The Blackstar positioned itself directly in front of a disabled Krothak destroyer, using its shields to protect the enemy vessel. "This is insane," Park whispered, then she understood. "We're not fighting the Krothak, we're fighting their leadership." Wright nodded. "Exactly. Those crews didn't choose this war, their commanders did. Target the Eternal Dominion, disable it now." The Blackstar's main weapons locked onto Dern's flagship. One precise shot struck the command bridge. The explosion was carefully calculated, enough to destroy systems, not enough to kill everyone. Dern survived, but his ship was dead. The remaining loyalist ships saw their leader captured and stopped firing. The battle ended not with a bang, but with confused silence. Axian medical ships moved in, following Captain Wright's instructions. They began recovering Krothak survivors from disabled ships and escape pods. Human crews assisted, treating enemy wounded alongside their own. One Krothak captain watching from his disabled bridge could not understand. Why do they save us? We came to destroy them." His first officer had no answer, neither did anyone else. 3 days later, a transmission came from a Krothak destroyer on the Empire's border. Captain Helm's voice was steady but emotional. "This is the Darkblade. We surrender to human forces. We request asylum. We will not serve an empire that murders its own people. Any Krothak who values honor over blind obedience, join us." More ships echoed the call, then the Krothak Empire began to fracture from within. Dern, imprisoned aboard the Blackstar, demanded to speak with Wright. "You destroyed the Empire," he snarled. Wright looked at him calmly. "No, you destroyed it. We just showed your people there was another way." Across the galaxy, species that feared the Krothak now wondered about humanity. This new power fought with overwhelming force but chose mercy when victory was certain. It was unprecedented. It was confusing. It changed everything. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Ambassador Helen Ross stood at the central podium, surrounded by holographic displays showing Krothak atrocities. Bodies, burned cities, biological weapons used on civilian populations, evidence collected over months. Council Speaker Myrn looked uncomfortable. "Ambassador Ross, humanity's military actions, while effective, were unauthorized. The Council must discuss whether such unilateral force is acceptable. Ross smiled coldly. You want to discuss acceptable? Let me show you acceptable by your standards. She activated another display. It showed council meetings from 6 months ago, warnings about Krothak aggression, requests for intervention, all denied, all delayed, all buried in bureaucratic procedure while millions died. You had 800 years of peace, Ross said quietly. You maintained it through talk and compromise, admirable, but you forgot how to recognize when talk fails. The Krothak declared war on civilization itself. We ended it. You're welcome. The chamber erupted in argument. Some species demanded humanity be punished for unauthorized action. Others wanted Earth given command of all military forces. A few wise ones stayed silent, watching everything carefully. On the Axian homeworld, Captain Wright walked through a refugee camp with Ambassador Trell. Thousands of Krothak prisoners were housed there, not in cells, in comfortable shelters with medical care and proper food. Your people show them more kindness than their own empire did, Trell observed. Why? Wright watched Krothak children playing with Axian children, supervised by human Marines who looked uncomfortable with babysitting duty. Because they're not our enemies. Their government was. There's a difference. A young Krothak soldier approached nervously. Private Jax had surrendered during the battle. Now he served as a translator. Captain, some of the prisoners. Want to speak with you? Wright followed him to a meeting hall. 50 Krothak officers waited. Captain Helm stood at the front. His uniform was clean, but he wore no weapons, a sign of respect. Captain Wright, we wish to discuss the future, Helm said. The Empire is fracturing. Civil war has begun. Loyalists control the capital and our most powerful weapons. Reformers control the outer colonies. Millions will die if this continues. Wright listened carefully. What do you want from us? Your help. The Loyalists are preparing to use a weapon they swore never to deploy again. A planet killer. 200 years ago, they used it once and vowed never again. Now they're desperate. They plan to fire it at New Kroth. 18 million civilians live there, all reformers or their families. Dr. Foster, listening through Wright's communicator, checked the database. Captain, I'm finding references to this weapon. It's called the World Breaker, banned even by Krothak military law. If they're willing to use it, they've gone beyond rational. Wright made his decision. How long before it fires? 6 hours, maybe less. The weapon is on a moon orbiting the capital world, heavily defended. Even your ships would struggle to reach it in time. Then we don't use the ships, we infiltrate. You give us access codes and facility layouts. We go in, disable the weapon from inside. Helm hesitated. Captain, this would make you party to our civil war. Your government may not approve. I don't remember asking for permission, Wright said. Lieutenant Park, assemble a strike team, full gear, non-lethal weapons only. We're going to save 18 million people who happen to be our former enemies. The infiltration team consisted of 12 humans and 3 Krothak volunteers, including Private Jax. They used a captured Krothak transport to approach the moon base. The access codes worked perfectly. Inside the facility, things got complicated. Loyalist security forces numbered in the hundreds. The super weapon itself was a massive cannon buried beneath the surface, powered by reactors that could level continents. Wright's team reached the control center without being detected. Then alarms blared. Someone had reported the stolen transport. Contact, Park shouted. At least 200 hostiles converging on our position. The team deployed defensive barriers and used electromagnetic pulse weapons to disable attackers. Without killing them, but more kept coming. The facility commander, General Court, was a true believer. He would rather die than let humans stop the weapon. Wright made a bold choice. He broadcast on all frequencies inside the facility, not a threat, a plea. Krothak soldiers, this is Captain Wright. We're not here to hurt you. We're here to stop that weapon from firing on New Kroth. Your families might be there, your friends, people who did nothing wrong except disagree with your leaders. In 4 hours, they all die, unless you let us help. He showed them live feeds from New Croth. Families, children playing, elderly Crothak tending gardens, normal people living normal lives. Some soldiers lowered their weapons. General Court screamed at them. Traitors, they chose rebellion over loyalty, fire on the humans. Private Jax did something incredible. He stepped between Wright and the other soldiers. My sister lives on New Croth, my parents, my niece. Are you ordering me to kill them? Other soldiers joined Jax, a line of Crothak protecting humans from other Crothak. General Court aimed his weapon at Jax, rage making him irrational. Wright moved to shield the young soldier. Court pulled the trigger, but another Crothak officer tackled him. The security forces mutinied, choosing conscience over orders. Wright and a mixed team of humans and reformer Crothak raced to the power core. Time was running out. Dr. Foster worked remotely, trying to hack the weapons systems, but it was designed to be impossible to stop once activated. Wright examined the physical structure. The power conduits could be severed manually, but the energy discharge would kill whoever did it. I'll do it, Jax volunteered immediately. No, Wright said firmly. That's not how this works. We don't trade lives. Foster found a partial solution. If we use the Blackstar's transporter at the exact moment of disconnect, we might beam you out before lethal exposure. 60% chance of success. Wright nodded. Good enough. Let's save 18 million people. Wright positioned himself at the power core. Crothak engineers provided tools and instructions. The massive conduits hummed with deadly energy. One mistake and the explosion would level half the moon. Lieutenant Park coordinated from the Blackstar. Her voice stayed calm, but Wright heard the fear underneath. Captain, transporter lock is solid. You have a 2-second window after. You cut the conduits. Any longer and the radiation will be lethal even if we get you out. Understood, Wright replied. He looked at the Crothak engineers who stayed to help. You should evacuate. This gets dangerous. One engineer, an older female named Shen, shook her head. You're saving our people, Captain. We stay to help you. Wright nodded with respect. He began the disconnection sequence. The first conduit sparked violently as it separated. Energy arced across the chamber. The second conduit required more force. Wright used a plasma cutter, carefully avoiding the power flow. On New Croth, children played in parks. Families prepared dinner. People argued about politics and gossiped about neighbors. Normal life. They had no idea a weapon pointed at their world, charging to fire. The third conduit resisted. Shen moved closer with a different tool. Use this, it cuts cleaner. Wright switched tools. The conduit severed, 3 down, 2 to go. The weapon's power began fluctuating. Alarms sounded throughout the facility. General Court, restrained by his own soldiers, laughed bitterly. You'll fail. The weapon has fail-safes. Even if you cut the power, the reaction has started. It will find another path. Dr. Foster's voice crackled through the calm. He's right, Captain. The energy is redirecting through backup systems. You need to sever all connections simultaneously, or it will just reroute. That's impossible, Shen said. Each conduit requires 2 hands and precision cutting. No one can do 5 at once. Wright looked at the Crothak engineers. 5 of them remained. Yes, we can. 1 person per conduit. We cut together on my mark. We'll die, one engineer said quietly. No, Wright countered. The Blackstar can transport 5 people. It's designed for emergency mass evacuation. We do this together. We all get out together. Park's voice was urgent. Captain, I'm not sure we can lock onto 5 different signals simultaneously. The interference. You'll figure it out, Commander. I trust you. Each engineer took position at a conduit. Wright stayed at the largest one. Private Jax refused to leave and positioned himself near the main reactor controls, ready to shut down the backup systems manually. On my count, Wright said, 3, 2, 1, cut now. 5 plasma cutters activated simultaneously. The conduits severed. Energy exploded outward. The chamber filled with blinding light. and deadly radiation. Jack slammed the emergency shutdown, killing the backup systems. The transporter beam engaged. White light mixed with the energy discharge. For a moment, nobody could see anything. On the Blackstar's transporter pad, 5 figures materialized. 4 Krothak engineers, and Captain Wright unconscious, his uniform burned, skin showing radiation exposure. "Medical emergency," Park shouted. "Get him to the medical bay now." Wright woke 2 weeks later. His body felt like it had been torn apart and put back together, which, in a way, it had. Advanced human medicine combined with Axian healing techniques saved his life. Lieutenant Park sat beside his bed. She looked exhausted. "Welcome back, Captain. You scared us." "The weapon?" Wright asked. "Destroyed. New Kroth is safe. All 18 million civilians are alive and well. Private Jax is being hailed as a hero. So are you." Wright tried to sit up. His body protested. "And the Krothak Civil War?" "Effectively over. When the reformers exposed the Worldbreaker plot, public opinion turned completely. The loyalist government collapsed. General Court and the Supreme Council leadership are in custody. Captain Helm is leading transitional government talks." Park helped Wright stand, walking hurt, but he needed to see his crew. They deserved to know he was alive. As he moved through the corridors, crew members stopped and saluted. Some had tears in their eyes. Dr. Foster met him at the bridge. "Captain, you should still be in bed. Your cellular regeneration is only at 74%. "I'll rest when the job is done," Wright replied. "Status report." "The galaxy is watching everything we do. The Galactic Council formally invited Earth to full membership. Ambassador Ross is negotiating terms. Several species have requested human assistance with their own conflicts. And we've received a transmission from the edge of known space. Unknown species, possibly hostile." Wright looked at the star map. Humanity came to stop one war. Now they were being asked to police the entire galaxy. That was never the plan. Admiral Stone appeared on the view screen. "Captain, good to see you alive. We have decisions to make. The Council wants humanity to become their military arm. Several politicians on Earth agree. Others want us to withdraw completely. What do you think?" Wright considered carefully. "We proved we can win wars. Now we need to prove we can prevent them. We help when genocide happens, when innocents are threatened. But we don't impose our will on other species. They need to find their own paths." "Limited intervention," Stone said. "That will satisfy no one." "Good, it means we're probably right. Being too willing to fight is dangerous. Being unwilling to fight is cowardly. We find the middle ground." A new message came through. Captain Helm transmitted from the Krothak homeworld. "Captain Wright, the reformer government thanks you. We are writing a new constitution, based on democratic principles and individual rights. We'd be honored if you attended the ratification ceremony." Wright smiled despite the pain. "Tell him we'll be there. The Blackstar's crew deserves to see what their sacrifice achieved." Park looked at the sensor data showing the unknown species at the edge of space. "Sir, about that new contact. They're expanding aggressively. Council wants us to investigate." "Set course," Wright ordered. "But this time we try talking first. Maybe we can stop a war before it starts." The edge of known space looked different from the rest of the galaxy. Stars were sparser here, fewer civilizations, more mysteries. The USS Blackstar emerged from its jump with 3 escort vessels. Thunder, Raptor, and Redemption formed a defensive perimeter. "Sensors are picking up massive construction," Lieutenant Park reported. "Multiple artificial structures. They're building something big out here." Captain Wright studied the display. The unknown species had constructed what looked like mobile stations. Each one was larger than most planets. They moved between systems, harvesting resources and leaving stripped worlds behind. "Life signs?" Wright asked. "Detecting them now. The species appears to be silicon-based, not carbon like us or most galactic species. They communicate through electromagnetic pulses. I'm trying to establish a translation matrix." Dr. Foster worked with the ship's computer. Captain, silicon-based life would have completely different needs than us. They might not even recognize organic species as alive. We could be like talking rocks to them. Then we make them understand we're more than rocks, Wright replied. Open a channel, all frequencies. The transmission went out in every format humanity knew. Mathematical sequences, visual patterns, audio signals, electromagnetic pulses matching what the unknown species used. For 3 hours, nothing responded. Then the screens filled with geometric patterns, sharp angles and crystalline structures. A voice that sounded like grinding metal spoke through the translator. The computer struggled to make sense of it. Soft things, fragile builders, why do you transmit noise? Wright responded carefully. We are the humans, we come seeking understanding. We detected your expansion and wish to establish peaceful communication. More geometric patterns, the crystalline voice seemed confused. Understanding is inefficient, resources exist to be consumed, worlds exist to be harvested, your noise serves no function. Park whispered to Wright, Sir, I don't think they understand the concept of coexistence. They're pure pragmatists. Everything is about function and resources. Wright tried a different approach. We have resources you might find valuable. Technology, information, trade between our species could benefit both. Trade implies equal exchange. You have nothing we cannot take. Your soft bodies occupy space we require, withdraw or be consumed. The mobile stations began moving toward human space. Slowly but deliberately, their intent was clear. Admiral Stone contacted Wright from the Raptor. Captain, they're not interested in talk. Recommend we show them what happened to the Krothak. A demonstration of force might convince them to negotiate. Wright hesitated. The Krothak understood destruction because they used it themselves. These beings think differently. Force might just confirm we're threats to be eliminated. Let me try something else. He opened the channel again. Your species values efficiency and function. Destroying us is inefficient. We can adapt. We can create. We can innovate. Consuming us removes potential future resources. Cooperation multiplies what exists. That is more efficient than consumption. Silence, then the geometric patterns shifted to something almost curious. Explain multiplication of resources. Wright saw his opening. Dr. Foster, show them our terraforming data, projects where we turned dead worlds into living ones, resources created from nothing. The data transmitted. The crystalline beings processed it for 10 minutes. When they responded, their tone had changed slightly. You create matter from energy patterns. You reshape planetary cores. This is valuable function. Explain your methods. For the next 6 hours, humanity and the silicon-based species exchanged information. The crystalline beings, who called themselves the architects, saw the universe as a construction project. Everything was material to be used, but they understood efficiency. Humans offered something they never considered, partnership. Dead worlds the architects saw as worthless could be transformed. Resources could be multiplied through careful management rather than strip mining. The concept fascinated them. However, the lead architect transmitted, trust is unknown to us. How do we verify your soft species will not deceive? Wright made a bold offer. Send representatives to observe our work, see our worlds, our methods. Judge for yourselves if cooperation is more efficient than conflict. 3 architect vessels detached from the mobile stations. They were smaller but still massive. Wright allowed them to dock with the Blackstar. The beings that emerged were not individuals. They were networked consciousness distributed across crystalline structures. Walking through the ship, the architects observed everything with what seemed like fascination. They studied the crew, the technology, the efficiency of human systems. Dr. Foster explained the ship's power generation. Park demonstrated the weapon systems. One architect focused on the medical bay. You repair damaged soft bodies. You expend resources on non-functional units. This is inefficient. Wright guided the architect to a window overlooking the crew quarters. Watch. A human engineer helped a Crothak technician repair a console. They laughed together about something. Private Jax played a card game with 3 human Marines. In the cafeteria, species from 6 different worlds shared meals. "We repair our people because they are not units," Wright explained. "They are individuals, each one unique, each one valuable. When you consume a world, you destroy it forever. When we heal a person, we preserve everything they can create, discover, and contribute. That is true efficiency. That is multiplication of resources." The architects processed this silently. Their crystalline structures hummed with electromagnetic communication. Finally, they responded. "Your logic is sound. Individual preservation creates future potential. Consumption is finite. Creation is infinite. We propose experimental cooperation, 3 dead worlds in neutral space. You demonstrate transformation. We provide raw materials and labor. We learn your methods." Wright extended his hand. The architect extended a crystalline appendage. The contact was brief but significant. First peaceful contact with a truly alien consciousness. "One question," the architect asked. "Why do you seek peace? Your species possesses weapons sufficient to destroy us. The Crothak data proves this. Why not simply eliminate potential competition?" Wright smiled. "Because we learned something important. The strongest species isn't the one that destroys everything. It's the one that builds something worth protecting. We're stronger when we create together than when we fight alone." The architects returned to their vessels. They withdrew their expansion into human space. The mobile stations repositioned toward the neutral zone where the experimental cooperation would begin. Ambassador Ross received Wright's report with satisfaction. "You did it, Captain. First contact without firing a shot. The Council is impressed." "Let's hope it lasts," Wright replied. "The real test comes when we actually work together." 6 months changed everything. The 3 experimental worlds became 7, then 15. Humans and architects worked together, transforming dead rocks into thriving ecosystems. The silicon-based beings learned about biological life. Humans learned about crystalline consciousness. Both species grew stronger through cooperation. Captain Wright stood in the observation deck watching the newest world come alive. Oceans formed where deserts existed. Atmosphere generators created breathable air. The architects built the infrastructure at incredible speed. Humans provided the biological knowledge to make it sustainable. "It's beautiful," Lieutenant Park said beside him. She had been promoted to commander but chose to stay on the Blackstar. "A year ago we were preparing for war. Now we're building worlds." Private Jax, now Lieutenant Jax of the reformed Crothak fleet, joined them. His ship, the New Dawn, orbited nearby. The Crothak reformers wanted to contribute to the project. Redemption, they called it, paying forward the mercy humans showed them. "My people are still learning," Jax admitted. "For centuries we only knew how to destroy. Building feels strange, but good." Dr. Foster's excited voice came through the comm. "Captain, you need to see this. The architects just shared something incredible." In the conference room, holographic displays showed complex mathematical formulas. Foster looked like a child at a birthday party. "They've been studying our biological systems. They developed a method to accelerate plant growth by 300%. Combined with their construction speed, we can terraform worlds in months instead of decades." An architect representative materialized through the holographic system. The crystalline being's geometric patterns pulsed with what humans had learned to recognize as satisfaction. "Cooperation proves efficient. Resources multiply as predicted. We propose expansion. 50 worlds. Joint development." Ambassador Ross attended the meeting remotely. She looked pleased but cautious. "The Council supports this project, but some members worry about human-architect alliance becoming too powerful. They remember the Crothak Empire. Power concentrated in few hands breeds corruption." Wright understood the concern. "Then we share the knowledge freely. Every species that wants to participate can join. This isn't about human or architect dominance. It's about building a galaxy worth living in." The Galactic Council met to discuss the proposal. Representatives from 40 species debated for weeks. Some feared change, others embraced it. Finally, they reached consensus. The Cooperative Development Initiative was born. Any species could join, any species could contribute. Resources and knowledge would be shared equally. The Axians contributed their telepathic abilities to facilitate communication between species. The Myrlians offered their expertise in sustainable energy. Even former Krothak loyalists, seeking redemption, provided their military engineering knowledge for peaceful construction projects. The Blackstar became more than a warship. It became a symbol. Humanity proved strength and compassion were not opposites. They could coexist. They could multiply each other's effects. One day, a transmission arrived from Earth. Admiral Stone looked older but satisfied. "Captain Wright, the fleet is expanding. We're building 12 new ships, not warships, explorer vessels, scientific research platforms, medical ships. The Blackstar remains our only dedicated combat vessel. We hope we never need another." Wright felt relief. "That's the right choice, Admiral. The galaxy needs builders more than fighters." Which brings me to my next point. I'm retiring. The Terran fleet needs a new commander, someone who understands when to fight and when to build, someone the galaxy trusts. The position is yours if you want it. Wright looked around the Blackstar's bridge. His crew, his ship. This vessel had seen humanity's fury. Now it represented humanity's hope. "Thank you, Admiral, but I think I'm needed here. The Blackstar still has work to do. Someone needs to watch the borders while everyone else builds the future." Stone smiled. "I expected that answer. Commander Park, how would you like your own ship? The new explorer fleet needs experienced officers." Park glanced at Wright. He nodded encouragingly. "She deserved this." "I'd be honored, Admiral." The months turned into years. The Cooperative Development Initiative transformed hundreds of worlds. Species that never spoke to each other became partners. The galaxy learned that cooperation created more than competition ever could. The Krothak reformers established a true democracy. They built monuments to their victims and taught their children about the cost of blind aggression. Captain Helm became their first elected leader. His campaign promise was simple: never forget, never repeat. The architects evolved too. Exposure to biological life changed their understanding. They began creating art, crystalline sculptures that sang in electromagnetic frequencies. Beauty for its own sake, not just function. They called it inefficient creativity and valued it above pure logic. But the Blackstar remained vigilant. Wright knew peace required protection. Somewhere in the galaxy, someone would always choose violence. The difference now was they wouldn't face it alone. A new transmission arrived. Unknown signature. Wright's hand instinctively moved toward the weapon's controls, old habits. The message translated simply: "This is the Wanderer fleet. We are refugees from the Andromeda galaxy. Our home was consumed by an enemy we could not defeat. We seek sanctuary. We seek hope. We heard legends of a galaxy that builds instead of destroys. Please help us." Wright looked at his crew. They had fought wars, saved civilizations, built worlds. Now refugees from another galaxy sought their help. The responsibility felt enormous. "Send them our coordinates," Wright ordered. "Tell them they're welcome. Tell them about the Cooperative Development Initiative. Tell them we'll help them build new homes." Park, preparing to leave for her new command, smiled. "Still saving the galaxy, Captain." "Someone has to," Wright replied. "The Blackstar entered the war to stop a genocide. Now we stay to make sure it never happens again. That's our mission. That will always be our mission." He recorded a final log entry. "The fury was necessary. We don't apologize for that, but fury was never the goal. It was a tool, a last resort. The real victory is what comes after. The architects taught us that creation is more valuable than consumption. The Krothak taught us that even enemies can become allies. The galaxy taught us that strength means nothing without compassion." The Blackstar's engines hummed to life. Somewhere out there, refugees needed help. Somewhere, someone needed protection. Somewhere, peace needed defending. Wright sat in his captain's chair, looking at the stars. Humanity came to the galaxy as outsiders. Now they were builders, protectors, partners. The USS Blackstar jumped toward the unknown, ready for whatever came next, because nothing would survive its fury, but everything would benefit from its mercy.